It's the 9th of December 2025. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo, bringing you tonight's bulletin for the Newsfirst team. I am Jaima Ratnayaka.
And I'm Navek Sekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
We must break the vicious cycle where disasters erase hard-won progress. Strong institutions and resilient systems are key to long-term development, says President. Northeast monsoon sets in. Thunderstorms expected across several provinces. Third-term exams cancelled. All schools in 6 provinces to reopen on December 16th. O-level exams begin February 17th. Against all odds, Sirasa Sahanayatra continues relentlessly to reach disaster-hit communities.
On to tonight's top story. Sri Lanka's greatest challenge today is breaking free from the cycle of progress and setback, President Anurukumara Dissanayake told Newsweek, as the country grapples with overlapping crises, economic recovery and climate disaster. Confronting criticism over the government's handling of Cyclone Ditwa, President Anurukumara Dissanayake acknowledged systemic gaps in preparedness and relief delivery, while unveiling a sweeping plan to modernize Sri Lanka's disaster management architecture and climate resilience.
How do you respond to criticism of the government's handling of the disaster?
Cyclone Ditwa was catastrophic. Lives lost, villages submerged, infrastructure torn apart. Response was rapid, with our forces and local authorities mobilized. Our partners stepped in as well. Although the priority at the moment is to work together and ensure Sri Lanka gets back on its feet, we need meaningful criticism to guide us. Long-standing weaknesses were visible in local preparedness, land use enforcement and speed of relief delivery. We are in government and we want to fix the problems. We have launched a comprehensive review of our disaster management systems. At least now, our government will work with all partners to put effective, efficient and accountable systems in place. We will rebuild Sri Lanka better than it was before.
Is Sri Lanka trapped in a model where climate shocks keep setting the country back for years? What's your long-term plan?
We will be trapped if we don't act now. This trap is not of our own making. Sri Lanka contributes negligibly to global emissions, but we face existential climate shocks that can destroy years of development progress overnight. But we must break this cycle. We can't have every flood, every cyclone, every drought set us back to where we started. So we urge our partners to help us build an escape plan to get out of the trap. Help us build climate resilient infrastructure. This will cost more upfront, but will save us from repeated reconstruction. Help us diversify our economy away from climate vulnerable sectors to sectors like the digital economy, IT services, light manufacturing and climate resilient industries. Share technology so that communities have time to evacuate and protect assets before disasters strike. Help us build natural climate change mitigation infrastructure, mangrove restoration, reforestation and wetland conservation.
Who were the most reliable partners in the disaster response, and which countries will be indispensable to Sri Lanka's future?
So many countries came forward to support us. India responded the quickest with Operation Sagar Bandhu. They deployed aircraft, helicopters, naval vessels, including aircraft carrier INS Vikrant and National Disaster Response Force personnel. Our neighbors Pakistan and Maldives also provided invaluable support. We deeply appreciate their solidarity as well as the solidarity extended to us by all our neighbors. We also remain deeply grateful to all other countries, international partners and individuals around the world who reached out and contributed.
Do you think you can overcome everything bad that happened in your country's past?
No. It is important to be honest. You can't overcome the loss of thousands of lives in conflict. You can't overcome disappearances, torture, trauma of families and events in the past that scarred generations. You can't overcome the suffering incurred by economic mismanagement and collapse. You can't overcome death and tragedy. What we can do, what we must do, is to ensure that these horrors that happened in the past do not recur, that they are never repeated. The pain of people who lost loved ones will not disappear just because there is a new government or a new law. The best we can do is acknowledge that pain exists and ensure that it wasn't in vain by making sure that things like this don't happen again. We can't overcome the past, but we can refuse to repeat the bad things by learning from the past and reforming so they don't get passed on to future generations.
What is Sri Lanka's biggest challenge right now?
Our biggest challenge is achieving sustainable and equitable development while dealing with overlapping crises. We just completed historic debt restructuring, $25 billion restructured, $3 billion forgiven. But now we are confronted with a crisis beyond our control. Cyclone Ditwa has made our challenges even bigger. It is almost as if when we are taking 2 steps forward, something beyond our control has pushed us back 3 steps. Yet our people have extraordinary resilience. Our debt is above 100% of GDP. Although we managed to recover from the economic crisis, our economy is still fragile. And now, over 1 million people have just been affected by disaster and they need immediate support. We have to move beyond the cycle where every achievement is temporary, with some crisis setting us back by several years. I think that this is our biggest challenge. We must prove that Sri Lanka remains resilient and viable.
Given China's long-term leases over Hambantota and Port City, do you see these as strategic risks Sri Lanka must manage?
These projects are realities that we must manage intelligently. The Hambantota port operates transparently like any other port terminal in Sri Lanka. Our Navy and Customs are in control. It serves Sri Lanka's economic interests through job creation and regional development and doesn't compromise our security. The lease is commercial, not military. We have been clear that no foreign military bases are permitted and we enforce it. Port City is primarily a commercial development. It will create jobs, attract investment and generate revenue. We have to monitor operations, ensure compliance with Sri Lankan law and maintain sovereignty over how these assets are used. The projects are realities that we must manage with a clear-eyed assessment of Sri Lanka's interests, what serves Sri Lanka's development. The recent floods and cyclones showed Sri Lanka remains unprepared for extreme weather.
Sri Lanka retains sweeping powers under laws like the Prevention of Terrorism Act and restrictive online safety legislation. What is your plan for these laws?
These laws have been used as tools of repression. They are out of place in a democracy. We are committed to comprehensive reform. On the PTA, we are committed to repealing and replacing it with legislation that balances legitimate security concerns with civil liberties. This means ending indefinite detention, establishing judicial oversight for all detentions, protecting the right to legal counsel, and ensuring that anti-terrorism legislation meets international human rights standards. We are revising the Online Safety Act to protect free expression while addressing genuine harms like hate speech that incites violence and child exploitation. The focus is to prevent real harm and not silence criticism. We want to work with civil society, international human rights experts and affected communities to draft replacement legislation. Bad laws rushed through will create new problems. We have experienced this in the past. Trust in government, both nationally and internationally, requires these reforms. We will act and act soon.
Today we at Newsfirst, we are ready to show you how Cyclone Ditwa impacted Sri Lanka using satellite images. Cyclone Ditwa inundated 1.1 million hectares or 20% of the island, and more than 1,200 landslides were reported around the country because of the extreme weather conditions here in Sri Lanka during the past week. We at Newsfirst also got the opportunity to go around the island and report to you about the intensity of the extreme weather situation in Sri Lanka. Connectivity was limited, certain roads were completely destroyed, and also cities didn't have power. Towns and villages were destroyed because of Cyclone Ditwa, and I believe certain islands, certain areas didn't have power, and also there were no phone connection, no network connection. People didn't have an opportunity to know about what's happening around Sri Lanka and also about the extreme weather situation. So if I can show you, this is Sri Lanka before Cyclone Ditwa. This is the 13th of October, and this is the 30th of November after Cyclone Ditwa. And as you can see, this is the water flown from the rivers, and as you can see, this is the sea area of Sri Lanka, and as you can see, this is the amount of water that have gone from the rivers to the sea area in Sri Lanka. And this is before Cyclone Ditwa. This is the 13th of October, and as you can see, there is no a lot of clouds around the Bay of Bengal area and also here in Sri Lanka. And as you can see, this is the 30th of November. So this is the latest situation. This is the situation occurred because of Cyclone Ditwa. All the 25 districts and also the 9 provinces were impacted because of Cyclone Ditwa. The Karen River, the Kal River, and also the Dadur Oya and also the Kothmale area was also hugely impacted because of Cyclone Ditwa. And as I said, a lot of areas lost power, they didn't have water, and also a lot of areas didn't have a connectivity problem because roads were completely destroyed because of landslides. And we at Newsfirst, we got the first-hand opportunity to go and report about the intensity of the situation.
Thank you, Budmin, for that report. Moving on, the initial impact mapping of Cyclone Ditwa done by the UNDP in Sri Lanka was published today.
Using UNDP's Multidimensional Vulnerability Index or MVI alongside satellite-derived flood extent, population exposure, building and infrastructure exposure and landslide data, this analysis identifies the areas where people face the greatest constraints to recover. A key finding of this analysis is that over half of the people in flooding areas were already living in households facing multiple vulnerabilities before Cyclone Ditwa, including unstable income, high debt and a limited capacity to cope with disasters. These communities face heightened challenges in recovery, underscoring the need for targeted interventions. This analysis contains numerous interactive maps and dashboards that help illustrate the various dimensions of cyclone-related effects and vulnerabilities across Sri Lanka. Sharing her insights on the matter, President Representative of UNDP in Sri Lanka, Azusa Kubota, underscored the critical role of Rapida's findings in shaping relief and recovery efforts.
UNDP has been part of the UN's larger efforts, supporting the government in collecting data as soon as possible. The recovery and relief efforts have to be data-driven, evidence-driven, so the resources available will reach the people who need the most and will be able to recover in a sustainable manner. Recently, we have worked on UNDP's corporate instrument called Rapida. This is an instrument that builds on the joint needs assessment, looking at satellite imagery, complemented by in-the-field research studies to show the early recovery needs as soon as possible.
Due to the threat of landslides, around 20 families from Hanguran Ketha's Illagolla Moragolla village are currently sheltered at Moragolla Primary School. In Pupurasa Rajathalawa, under the Doluwa Divisional Secretariat in Gampola, 200 individuals from 60 families have been relocated to Panvilathana Temple for safety following landslide warnings. In Mavanala's Pahalakadugannawa area, business establishments remain closed and residents from surrounding areas have been moved to safe locations. According to the red evacuation notice issued for landslide risk, 707 families in Kurunagala district covering Mavathagama, Ridhigama and Mallapiti Divisional Secretariat divisions have been relocated to government-supervised safety centres. In Norwood Police Division, 211 individuals from 102 families in Bogavanthalawa, Kiwatte have been moved to St. John Tillery Tamil School due to landslide threats. Landslide evacuation notices remain active across multiple divisional secretariat divisions in Kandy, Kegol, Kurunagala and Mathale districts. In the Kandy district, Panvila, Udapalata, Minipe, Pujapitiya, Gangawatakorale, Tumpane, Doluwa, Pathadumbara, Ganga Ihalakorale, Harispattuwa, Akurana, Ududumbara, Pathahewahata, Hataraliyadda, Yatinuwara, Deltota, Madadumbara, Udunuwara, Kundasale, Pasbaga Korale. In the Kegol district, Yatiantota, Rambukkana, Aranayaka, Varakapola, Galigamuwa, Mavanalla, Bulatkohupitiya. In the Mathale district, Ukuela, Pallepola, Rattota, Mathale, Laggala Pallegama, Yatavatta, Naula, Ambaganga Korale and Wilgamua. In the Kurunagala district, Mallavapitiya, Ridhigama and Mavathagama.
Evacuated residents must remain in safe locations until authorities confirm safety. All necessary relief will be provided. Avoid visiting landslide hit areas or moving through disaster zones. Water levels in irrigation zones are dangerously high. Do not use this water. Stay alert to environmental changes and landslide signs. The Department of Meteorology warns that the northeast monsoon has now established across the island, bringing widespread rainfall. Several regions are expected to receive over 75 millimeters of rain, particularly in the northern, north central, eastern, central, northwestern and over provinces. Other areas may experience evening showers exceeding 50 millimeters. Meanwhile, thunderstorms with strong lightning are likely in parts of Sabaragamuwa, western, southern provinces and Kurunegala district.
Disaster-hit regions are now undergoing rapid restoration efforts. The Spring Valley Bridge, damaged by floodwaters, is currently under repair. The road from Demodara to Spring Valley, which was blocked by landslides, has now been cleared. In Somawathiya, where the surrounding area remained submerged for days due to the overflow of the Mahavali River, cleanup operations have begun with the support of the Sri Lanka Army and local residents. In Giriulla, the Mahinda Primary School was cleaned today with the assistance of the Jana Aragala movement. Cleanup operations continued today in Megodakolonava, which was submerged under floodwaters. A group of Australian students also joined the effort. In Anuradhapura, the Ganewalpala Mahaman Kadavala tank bund is now being cleared by the irrigation department with assistance from the army and local communities. The bridge in Gampola town, which flooded during heavy rains and was submerged, is now visible as water levels recede.
The Ministry of Education has announced that all schools in the western, southern, northern, eastern, Sabaragamuwa and north central provinces will reopen on the 16th of December following closures caused by adverse weather conditions. Nalaka Kalueva, the Education Secretary, said, however, 147 schools across the Uva province, northern, western and central province will remain closed. The current school term will run from the 16th of December to the 22nd of December, followed by a short Christmas break. Schools will reopen on the 29th, 30th and 31st of December, with the third term ending on the 31st of December. The first term of 2026 will begin on the 5th of January, but schools will close again from the 12th to the 20th of January to accommodate the remaining sessions of the GCE Advanced Level Examination. Schools will also close from the 14th of February to the 2nd of March for the GCE Ordinary Level Examination, which will proceed as scheduled. The Ministry of Education has also decided to cancel third-term exams to prioritize students' mental well-being following recent hardships. All students will be promoted to the next grade without term exams. However, grade 11 students may sit for a preparatory test in 2026 if schools choose to conduct one such test.
flooded roads, collapsed hillsides, highways completely cut off. Yet, amidst all of these obstacles, the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra flood relief convoy kept moving forward. Cyclone Ditwa came and left, leaving its mark in all 25 districts. Today, the flood relief convoy has already reached multiple affected communities across those districts, bringing hope where despair lingered. But the mission is not over. Even today, amidst relentless sun and rain, the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra flood relief convoy kept continuing its journey for you, for every family in need.
This morning, from the MTV MBC head office premises in Colombo 2, a convoy set out for Seruvilla in Kantale. By afternoon, another team was on its way to Gampaha. From the Department Broadcast Centre, a dedicated group headed to Matale, working tirelessly through the night to deliver essential supplies, items donated by the people, directly into the hands of those in distress. The Sirasa Sahanayatra flood relief convoy to Matale faced extraordinary challenges in Riverston, Etanwala, Kumbiangoda and Tibbatuawe junior school areas. Landslides and submerged roads forced the team to endure immense hardship to push forward. Ignoring every obstacle, the convoy spent the entire night among the people, ensuring that every essential item reached those who needed it the most. Yesterday in Norelia, the team encountered yet another series of challenges. To reach families in Walapane and the upper region of Watumulla, they carried supplies on foot for over 4 kilometers, braving treacherous terrain. By this morning, the relief convoy had reached Yatiantota, distributing essential goods to affected communities in Karavanalla and Yatiantota. In Gampaha, the convoy reached Ihalagama West, Ihalagama East, Madagama, Madagama 2 and Madagama 4, ensuring that relief reached every corner where suffering persisted. By air, by water, by land, the Sirasa Sahanayatra flood relief convoy moves relentlessly for the people. From the Colombo head office premises, the Department complex and the operations centre at Gaul Kahaduwatta Junction, our doors remain open for the nation. People from across the country, young volunteers stepping forward, the strength of the armed forces, for the people, by the people. Sirasa Sahanayatra flood relief convoy remains unstoppable.
The Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra. Sri Lanka needs you. Please donate the following dry rations and help those who need it the most. Rice, dal, noodles, soya meat, canned fish and biscuits. You can hand over these items at the following collection points: the MTV head office, Braebury Place, Colombo 2, the Department Studio Complex in Panipitia. For further inquiries, please call 076 552 5000. Together, we can make a difference.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Valuable FD, the symbol of stability. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
To accelerate Sri Lanka's return to normalcy following the recent emergency, the Bandaranaike Memorial National Foundation has donated 250 million rupees to the government.
The cheque was officially handed over yesterday to Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya by former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, chairperson of the BMNF, along with members of the Board of Directors. The presentation took place at the Prime Minister's office, followed by a cordial discussion between the former President and the Prime Minister.
The 8th UAE plane carrying relief aid for the Sri Lankan people affected by Cyclone Ditwa arrived today afternoon at Katunayake Airport. The aircraft, a C-17, hailed as one of the largest cargo planes of the UAE Air Force, landed at Katunayake Airport from Abu Dhabi at around 1:20 p.m. today. On board were 1,080 food packages, sufficient for a family of 8 for 14 days, with a total weight of 27 metric tons. An Indian Air Force Mi-17 helicopter landed at the Sri Lanka Air Force Base in Katunayake at 11:50 am on 9th of December, strengthening ongoing disaster relief efforts in the country. The aircraft was deployed after 2 other Mi-17 helicopters previously assisting in rescue missions were sent back to India. The 2 helicopters that returned to India had played a critical role in recent operations, rescuing 270 Sri Lankans affected by floods and cyclones and delivering 50 metric tons of relief supplies to safety centers across the island. The newly arrived helicopter is accompanied by 14 Indian Air Force personnel who will work in coordination with Sri Lankan forces to continue relief missions. According to a senior official from the Indian High Commission, the current disaster situation has largely eased and 1 helicopter is sufficient for ongoing humanitarian operations. A giant C-17 Globemaster transport aircraft of the Indian Air Force touched down at Katunayake International Airport at 1:55 p.m. on 9th of December, carrying a critical consignment of disaster relief supplies for Sri Lanka. The aircraft, which flew in from India, brought in 61 metric tons of essential cargo, including a 110-foot-long Bailey steel bridge and 600 kilograms of vital medicines. These supplies are intended to support recovery efforts in areas devastated by recent floods and cyclones. The arrival was witnessed by officials from the Indian High Commission in Colombo, along with representatives from Sri Lanka's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Disaster Management Centre, underscoring the strong bilateral cooperation during times of crisis.
Today, the High Commission of India in Colombo distributed aid to individuals in Nuwara affected by the cyclonic storm Ditwa. The aid was distributed at the Sri Gangarama Viharasthana in Sita earlier.
Today's distribution is a solidarity that people of India show towards people of Sri Lanka, and as committed by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we are fully committed not only to in the process of relief under Cyclone Ditwa, but also for reconstructing and rebuilding Sri Lanka.
The Thai community in Sri Lanka, in collaboration with the Thailand Embassy, donated essential supplies, including dry food and drinking water, to those affected by the recent floods and landslides in the country. The donation was handed over by the Thailand ambassador on behalf of the embassy.
The High Commission of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan delivered aid to victims of the disaster that took place in the country. The donation of aid took place at the Pakistan High Commission in Colombo today. Muhammad Junaid Anwar Chaudhry, Federal Minister for Maritime Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, attended the event as the chief guest. The Federal Minister for Maritime Affairs led the distribution of essential ration bags to deserving individuals and families as part of the High Commission's ongoing commitment to community welfare.
Pakistan stands with Sri Lanka in this difficult time with full solidarity and sincere sympathy. Pakistan is always ready to provide all possible humanitarian and technical support to our Sri Lankan brothers and sisters. As I speak to you, Pakistani teams and other rescue personnel are already here helping to protect lives, and support relief efforts. Pakistan and Sri Lanka share a long history of friendship, deep maritime ties, and mutual respect. We wish to further strengthen cooperation in disaster management, maritime safety, and early warning systems.
News First with the people.
The all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded a significant gain today, rising by 439.46 points. At the close of trading, the all-share price index stood at 22,034.32 points. The total turnover for the day was 3.8 billion rupees.
Australia has enacted a world-first ban on social media for users under 16, causing millions of children and teenagers to lose access to their accounts.
Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, YouTube, Snapchat, Reddit, Kik, Twitch and TikTok are expected to have taken steps from Wednesday to remove accounts held by users under 16 years of age in Australia and prevent those teens from registering new accounts. Platforms that do not comply risk fines up to $49.5 million. All listed platforms apart from X had confirmed by Tuesday they would comply with the ban.
Ukraine is preparing to present a revised peace plan to the White House as it seeks to avoid making territorial concessions to Russia.
Kiev is set to propose alternatives to the US after President Volodymyr Zelensky again ruled out surrendering land, saying he had no right to do so under Ukrainian or international law. He made the comments as he met European and NATO leaders on Monday, part of a collective push to deter the US from backing a peace deal, which includes major concessions for Ukraine and which allies fear would leave it vulnerable to a future invasion. Meanwhile, the city of Sumy in northwestern Ukraine was left without power overnight after a Russian drone attack. The region's governor said more than a dozen drones had hit power infrastructure, the latest in Russia's nightly attacks. No deaths were reported. Zelensky's ongoing diplomatic tour of Europe comes after days of intensive talks between US and Ukrainian negotiators over the weekend that failed to produce a deal Kiev could agree to. Zelensky was due to be briefed on that private summit on Monday by his chief aide Rustem Umarov, who wrote on Telegram that he would feed back details of direct talks between the US and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.